Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video I'd like to look at a lovely Holy Grail trade setup that unfolded on a 5-minute chart of the YM. That's this TS3 sell setup here. You'll notice first of all it's against the STF, and that's what we'll look at in this video, is that with a Holy Grail trade setup, because it's the first correction of a new move of an important high or low, it will always be against the STF. Exactly the same situation we had the day before. If I look at this trade setup here, this was also considered a Holy Grail trade setup, which as you can see resulted in a very nice trade as well. So what are the ingredients of a Holy Grail trade setup? Well, it's a wave 2 in Elliott wave terms, so it has to follow a wave 1, which is the initial move of an important high or low, and as I've just said, we have to define whether the first move is actually coming off an important high or low. So that's the first question. We have to decide how we just look at the prior pivot and decide whether it's an important high or low. For this we go to the higher time frame, which in this example is the 15-minute chart. So on the 15-minute chart we look at DP support and resistance zone. So if I go back even before yesterday even unfolded, yesterday was January the 17th. So for this we put DPs on our charts simply by going to last prior highs or lows. You'll see there's a prior pivot here. I right mouse click, I put DP, it puts it on the chart for you. Another one was back here, right mouse click, DP, again it's on the chart for you. We then scroll forward. The day opens yesterday, and as you can see the market went up through our first target and hit our second target very nicely. So I'll just take those off and just have the one target on, just so we don't confuse people. So that's the beauty of these DPs, is they are leading indicators. In other words, they are on the chart before the market got there. So before the market even opened yesterday, this level was on the chart as an area of large degree resistance. And as you can see, that nailed the very high of the day for you. We had the same situation back here with that prior low off the prior setup as well. So that was a good one there. Let's just put the a box around this level here. So in NinjaTrader, when we go to the shorter time frame chart, which is the 5-minute, that level will stay on. So that's the first point we need to do, is when we're ascertaining a Holy Grail trade setup, we look to the higher time frame and we see whether we're finding 15-minute support or resistance. That defines a larger degree pivot, which is what we had at the high of the day yesterday. So now when we come back down to the 5-minute chart, you can see here's our target on here. I'll just make that a little bit smaller there so it's out of the way. So we knew that that was 15-minute resistance, and as such, I'll just take that off the chart because it's confusing things. As such, that was an important swing high. So therefore we had this decline down here is the initial decline. Elliott wave terms is wave 1. The initial correction, Elliott wave terms, is wave 2. That subdivides as an ABC. Therefore this TS3 sell setup is actually a wave 2. What follows a wave 2? A wave 3. So if I put the Elliott wave, if I just do the analysis, we have our WPG targets here, of which the first one is the the minimum wave C. The second one is the typical wave C, and it's this third one, that's the one that interests us, because that's the typical wave 3. That's the important point, is because we know this is potentially a wave 2, we're actually looking to go out to the typical wave 3 target for the move, not the first target. So let's adjust the risk reward. So we take it from the first target, we extend it out to the third target, which is the typical wave 3 WPT, and you can see instantly we have a much larger profit. In this example, I missed that ever so slightly, it's about there, would be a plus 7.2R profit. And this is why the Holy Grail trade setup is my favourite trade setup, because it gets you in on what would be considered a wave 2. It then gets you into what is considered the strongest and longest move in any completed 5-wave Elliott wave sequence, which is the wave 3, so it allows you to have a trade that has the largest potential profit for the smallest initial risk, and that's why it's my favorite trade setup. And as you can see, the result of this trade was a lovely plus 7.2R profit at the typical wave 3 WPT, which was 7.2 times greater than the initial risk, so approximately $2,800 return for a $400 initial risk. Just for the advanced users among you, if I turn the crosshairs on and I look at this bar here that goes into that typical wave 3 WPT, you can also see that was an MTP VSA setup as well. There's our high volume VSA spike, so that would give an extra confirmation for the advanced traders among you that the market was indeed stopping at that typical wave 3 WPT because of our high volume VSA reversal. And as you can see, that actually nailed the low of the day. So what a great place to take profit on a trade, basically the low of the day. So here we had the situation where the 15-minute resistance, remember I did that right at the start of the video, nailed the high of the day. We then had one sell set up here on what would be considered a wave 2 into the typical wave 3 WPT, which turned out to be pretty much the low of the day for a 7.2R profit. And that was another example of the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup, and as I said, it followed on from another Holy Grail trade setup which was on the day before. So here we had a lovely long trade going up on that day. The very next day we had the opposite with a lovely sell setup coming in here. So another good example of the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup that unfolded yesterday, which was January the 17th.